In this section, Hattie says that 4 more things are distraction, pouring more money into early childhood education. Hattie also questions the role of play, even though play and visible learning has an effect size of 0.5, which is above his hinge point of 0.4. He claims it's excessive labelling of students as ADHD and autistic to explain the lack of achievement. He questions holding back students a year, and he blames the teacher who had him for a year and you failed, and also learning styles. He seems to miss the elephant in the room. The big factor in this section is socio-economic imbalance. There are quite a large peer review that's critical of Hattie. For example, there's 2 papers and 2 more. Hattie's defence against those peer reviews is that he constrained his interest primarily to what he had control over. He claims that teachers, he and schooling systems don't have control over socio-economic factors. Lots of people disagree with that. And then he does mention in the introduction to visible learning that the limitation of his book is it's solely about academic achievement and doesn't focus on many of the other outcomes of schooling. I wish he'd talk about this a little bit more often to temper his conclusions and put his conclusions in more context. Snook et al. Also warned the danger of the lack of explanation of socio-economic factors, that it could be appropriated by political and ideological interests and used in ways which the data do not substantiate. This, of course, was denied by Hattie. However, that prediction did come to pass in Australia a couple of years ago, with the then Federal Education Minister, Christopher Pyne, using Hattie's interpretation of the class size research to thwart or to block the economic refunding model that was aimed to redress socio-economic balance in schools. Hattie's been totally silent on this. I think he could have said something public, but Hattie seems more content with criticising the easy target, which is usually the teacher. I've already shown you one critique, and then in visible learning there's a whole range of critiques of teachers. For example, this one, the devil in the story is not the negative, criminal and incompetent teacher, but the average let's get through the curricular teacher. He seems to forget in the state that he has jurisdiction over the state of Victoria. Teachers get fired if they don't follow the statewide or nation-defined curriculum. Why doesn't he criticise those bodies for holding teachers accountable to do that? And Larson, in his many critiques of Hattie, has significant insights. He says that teachers get identified as the primary indispensable learning factor and thereby as a public, expensive and untrustworthy potential enemy. This amounts to scapegoat projection par excellence. Jean Glass, the same Jean Glass who I cited as the one of the authors of the class size research, with 20 other distinguished professors. Also, Jean Glass is the person that Hattie cites as the one that motivated him to get into this line of work. Jean Glass invented the meta-analysis technique, which Hattie sort of uses. In the book, in myth number 17, class size doesn't matter, which I call the Hattie myth, Glass links class size with economic imbalance. Fiscal conservatives contend in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary that students learn as well in large classes as in small. So of which students are large classes okay? Only the children of the poor. Pasi Sahlberg, who moved to Australia I think a year or so ago, is trying to also address the myopic focus of Hattie and others on schooling being solely about academic achievement. Sahlberg is trying to move the debate to other outcomes such as health and well-being, and shows that play plays an important role in all of that. And in Sahlberg's experience, it sort of contradicts Hattie's notion of over-diagnosis of behavioural and mental problems. Sahlberg says, what I hear from everyone in Australia is that teachers say that they have more children in their classrooms with social, emotional, psychological and behavioural difficulties and problems than they had before. It's incredibly hard to plug along in a system that you know is working against kids' health. So to me, the real distraction is this myopic focus on achievement. Hattie's comparing of effect sizes, and C in her analysis of the Education Endowment Foundation and also Hattie's work, and this myopic focus shows that lives may be damaged and opportunities lost. Thank you.